If you want to invest in the company that is likely going to be making the Trump phone, this is the info.
T1, $499, designed in the US and built in the US. That's the claim by the Trump family. You have done that. What do you make of their news?
Well, the FTC will probably come knocking pretty soon.
Why do you make that claim?
Oh, because that phone is actually made by Wingtech, so it'll be a Chinese-produced phone, and that's going to become a challenge. It also takes many years to actually build up the entire supply chain to manufacture in the U.S. As a matter of fact, our claims are made in USA electronics because we still source some materials like our metal chassis from China. But all of our electronics are manufactured at our facility. That took me over a decade to get to that point.
Todd, I'm interested. How do you know it's made by Wingtech?
Yeah.
Well, the specs match. And so, we're going off of some speculation, right, to determine when your specs match, then you can understand the supply chain. We also know Wingtech, what they produce. It's also sold by T-Mobile currently. It's called the Rebel 7. And so there might be some modifications, but that still doesn't cross the threshold for U.S. assembly, let alone actually the much higher burden to cross with the FTC that is made in USA.
This is interesting. So here's the CEO of a competing all-American cell phone manufacturer. Now, apparently, this company has been the subject of significant controversy in the past, but to me, it sounds like he's a little bit butthurt and bitter that they just lost the contract to do the Trump phone.
So we have a white label group that has been in direct communication with Trump family about potentially white labeling or contracting to actually do true U.S. manufacturing of the electronics.
Because we just heard him say that he's been in conversation about the Trump phone, but now he's bagging on the Trump phone, suggesting that the Trump administration is truly using a Chinese phone and branding it as an American, phone, even though that's not true. And now the CEO of Purism is saying, hey, Trump is going to end up getting the FTC involved in the sale of his phone, which is basically a way of saying that the CEO of Purism is claiming Trump is falsely advertising that the Trump phone is made in America when it's actually just a Wingtech phone because the specs match Wingtech phones. Now, Purism has an interesting history itself because Louis Rossmann made a couple critical videos of this company. I mean, you could just look at the title here. Purism ghosts customers, lies about refund policy, avoid this horrible company. Basically, they go through some emails and they talk about how the company was unwilling to support individuals with whatever claims they had. Here is the Liberty phone that they sell, which is a $2,000 premium phone that focuses on security by design and privacy protections by default with secure supply chains and electronics made in the USA. You can see it looks pretty clunky on the side, pretty thick relative to an iPhone these days, probably because the components they can get their hands on here in America are just unfortunately not as small yet for mobile devices as what we have access to in China, though that could be speculative. But that said, you could get a fantastic phone now at Apple for $799. Hashtag not an ad for Apple. But, oh boy, there's a lot going on the Apple homepage here. But I personally think if you're looking for a phone, the iPhone 16e is like 95% of the phone of the iPhone 16 for a fraction of the cost. Oh, wow, it's actually now starting at just $599. Holy smokes. In my opinion, this is actually a sign of some pricing power at Apple really starting to collapse, which is great because it's a sign that you as an individual, the consumer, you actually win. I mean, the fact that now I could buy this for $599, the iPhone 16e, that's actually pretty incredible. And again, I believe for most people, 95% of the features are here. But look at this. You get a 16e for $599. Okay, well, let's say you wanted the best possible phone you could get from iPhone, the iPhone 16 Pro, and that starts at $999. Even if you end up going for the Pro Max, it's $1,200. You compare that to the Liberty phone that this guy's selling, the Liberty phone starts looking pretty expensive. Now, they do have other, and that's even a relatively small hard drive. That's the 128. That's like what the iPhone 16e has, right? Now, they do have other products, including apparently a cheaper phone here, the Librem 5 phone. This Librem 5 phone, if we go to the Buy Now tab, is a phone that's worth $800. Also looks like it has sort of a similar, larger thickness design here with some slightly different specs. So you've got a few different options you could choose from. But the CEO seems bitter that they lost this Trump Mobile contract, where now what they're doing is the 47-45 plan. This is obviously an ode to Donald Trump being president 45 and 47. And that's how much it's going to cost per month, which is likely just a relabeling or rebranding, much like Mint Mobile does, of a T-Mobile plan or Verizon plan or whatever. And they're selling this T1 phone, which it's unclear that they've actually ever even made a single one of these. But what you have is a phone that is looking for $100 down payments now. This is usually an easy way to issue a proof of concept, throw something together. Mind you, they also had the camera over here earlier in an earlier version of this website listed as having a milliamp hour life. You can see in one of the original photos here, which you could easily find on X, 5,000 milliamp hour long life camera. Cameras are not known to have electrical battery capacity measurements, which would be milliamp hours, since batteries are measured in amp hours, their capacity. That has since been changed. Now it's a 5,000 milliamp hour long life battery, which we forgot the hyphen between long life, and there's a space missing over here after the parentheses and before punch, but, whatever, these are just small little details, who cares? So the idea here is that you're going to have this American phone, but the Purism guy, who we could be skeptical of ourselves, this guy is saying that Trump is really just using this company called WingTech. Now, WingTech is a Chinese company. They actually have a stock. So if you want to invest in the company that potentially is making the Trump phone, it's this right here, WingTech Technology. Usually you'd have to use like a Moomoo or a Webull or maybe an Interactive Brokers to get access to the Chinese, listed stocks. But you would just type in 600 and then 745 as the ticker symbol. They use numbers rather than the 4 or 3-digit letters that we do, or 2 digits even. But anyway, here's the company that allegedly went through, allegedly, according to the Purism CEO, is making these Trump phones. They obviously had some incredible momentum wave there during COVID. But what's very interesting about this is if it's true that this is just going to be a rebranded Chinese-made phone, then much like many of the other Trump products, whether it's as hats or shirts, we're not really getting made in America, we're getting made in China and then sort of maybe like assembled in America, which is basically what the iPhone is, right? The iPhone, or the iPhone's actually even worse. It's designed in California and then made and assembled in the in the Chinese marketplace through Foxconn, although now there's talk about potentially moving to India, which is also expected to be subject to tariffs. Then, of course, you have the potential that, Donald Trump might try to promote his own phone over companies like Apple, where all of a sudden you say, hey, well, Iran, you're importing from, Apple, you're importing from India. We've got the Trump phone made in America. Is it, though? Purism CEO says it's just a rebrand of WingTech, which apparently does actually have a phone out. If you look up WingTech on Amazon, I'll just see if there are any other ones. They're apparently the Revel 7s and Revel 6s and Revel 6Xs you could get your hands on. But look at the prices of these phones. This actually shows you the potential markup that Donald Trump is going for. But look at this WingTech 7 right here. This is an $88 phone, 128 gigabytes of storage. And if we look right here, this one shows 256, so maybe there's an expanded version of this. Let's try to put these side by side and see if we can get a comparison. You've got Oh, well, you don't get too many tech specs here, huh? Let's see. 5G tech, big deal. Versatile camera. Long-lasting battery. Okay, we've seen that as well. I don't actually get many tech specs at all here. Wonder if we could pull up a Google of this product and get a whole lot more tech specs. But anyway, the Purism CEO said, yeah, this is all just, it all shows just restricted. Purism CEO suggests that these are almost the same. Now, here's a Reddit review from 7 months ago. Is it just me or does the Revel 7 suck? Photo editing glitches. Can't change your phone background to any image. Can't change the lock screen. Power button requires you to hold the volume down and side purple button. You'd think the purple button is power, but when you hold it, that's a no. That's how it's designed. Whatever. Somebody ranting on Reddit. But then again, you know, what do you expect when you're spending $88 for a phone? Translate review to English. This phone has lots of knocks. Oh, nicks is, I think, what they're referring to. Like, it came damaged. But this would make sense because this could actually be a profitable business model. If you took Revel phones, which are all 3.5-star reviewed phones, and then branded them or white labeled them as Trump phones, you could actually get this phone for, this one has, no, 128. These are still showing as 256. You could get a relatively cheap phone, and ultimately...
Today we're here to introduce Trump Mobile. We've partnered with some of the greatest people in the industry to make sure that real Americans can get true value from their mobile carriers. A big part of what we've done right now in the world has been focused on technology for people who have been underserved, whether that's been in crypto or anything else. But one of the places where we felt there was lackluster performance was in the mobile industry.
The fact that all your customer service will be done in America. It's going to be done in St. Louis, Missouri. I hope I was allowed to give that out. And making phones in America. It's about time we bring products back to our great country, and it's about time we disrupt this space.
All right, so it seems like this is the claim that eventually we'll make the phones in America, as we have here. Eric Trump on a podcast suggested that eventually the phones can be built in America, but at first they'll probably be Chinese. And it appears now, thanks to the Purism CEO, whom people don't really like, but thanks to the Purism phone, it seems like the white labeled phone might end up being the cheap Wing Tech phone, and it is a stock that you could buy.
Why not advertise these things that you told us here? I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.